There we go. Red light. Flashing. Yes.
Going okay.
I'm just gonna make sure so it doesn't turn off on me like it did before. I can see it. Okay, look at that. Rotate your device. Oh, this one lets you rotate. Okay.
Yeah, go on that scale. That's better.
Yeah, that's gonna be much better. I'm just gonna move this a little over.
You got your cup ready?
Yeah, I'm gonna pour a... Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is our 10th episode. And I have a lovely saxophone player, keyboard player, multi-instrument talent named Angel.
Yep, I rap and sing too.
She raps and sings, and she is here in the hood, Normal Heights. And tell us how you got into music.
Oh, it's a very long story if you don't mind hearing.
Ooh. Woo!
Okay.
I caught it this time. Last time I did it over there on the show, I went off the roof.
Hell, I'm like, oh, it's scary. But I'll get into it. Since you got time.
Yeah, we got all the time in the world.
Literally, I started the journey of music probably around 7.5, 8. I just remember seeing this episode of The Simpsons.
Oh yeah.
It was the one where Bleeding Gums Murphy died, and it got me motivated. And I was just like, "What instrument is that?" And I asked around, and then I kept hearing saxophone in the episode. I'm like, "It's a sax." But the first saxophone.
The Simpsons sax is so cool too.
It's a whole Barry. It's not even a regular sax, and it's like that's oversized. I remember playing a Barry in high school. I could barely carry it when I was marching. But
why is it saying rotate your device still?
Let's see.
Stream portrait.
Did you click? Oh, you gotta click on the bottom. Stream portrait. So you can stream portrait. You still gotta click and confirm it.
My God. Now we're going live. We're gonna start the whole thing over. Ladies and gentlemen, 3, 2, 1. We are live with Angel. We're gonna start from the very beginning. This is episode 10 of Live from Normal Heights. Have you ever been to Normal Heights?
Actually, this is my second time here. I never really visited people, but I drive around this area a lot.
So Angel's going to start from the very beginning because we couldn't figure out how to work the camera here. And she's going to tell us how she got into music because she's a multi-talented musician, rapper, singer, saxophone player, a bunch of other instruments, huh? How many instruments?
Well, I played contrabass when I was in high school. I played keys. I got into clarinet. I like percussion. I learned drum set and other percussion instruments like.
Were you ever in the drum line?
I wanted to be, but no, I'm stuck sax.
Oh, that's right. I played sax in marching band and symphonic band. I played marching French horn, and I had a solo. And my arm couldn't hold up the French horn the whole 5 songs. So by the end of it, it was like all shaking like this, and they said that's a beautiful vibrato because I had a solo.
It's always epic when you get the solo parts.
My heart would shake.
The only thing about marching with the instrument is that it gets very tiring. People don't understand how much breath control you have to have.
Yeah, it does. And your neck gets all... You have to go to chiropractors to crack it out and stuff.
Especially with the sax, I feel like that's something you really get tired with. You don't realize it when you're young, but once you're out there, like I've done a couple protests with my sax. You actually, and it's like...
Oh, we gotta do that.
I'm tired. You should come out with me. We always need more instrumentalists. We can even come up with little things
I put on a Craigslist, I put the 6 feet apart marching band and dance troupe. And only 2 people got a hold of me, but they were like old and they were way far away. And
I would have been a part.
Okay, let's do it.
Check them out. You have me on Instagram, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you'll see pictures of me with I'm usually the only one. There was one where there was like a tenor, another tenor, and there was like 2 other altos, including me, and then a drummer, like with the timbali. But he was off time, and I was like, I'm kind of anal when it comes to rhythm. And I'm like, yo, you playing wrong. And he just looked at me and smiled and kept playing. And I was just like, nah. You know, you can't say anything when you're in the moment, but, you know, like, even if you do, they're going to keep going. It's like, who are you? Because we didn't know each other. Oh,
that's cool. You just kind of all met up at the protest and you guys all had instruments.
It was so dope. I love those vibes.
I want to do that.
We can. If there's
let's definitely do it.
Hopefully it's for other causes and, you know, we can stop killing black folks. I mean, cops can stop killing black folks.
Yeah,
we gotta be honest.
Hopefully we won't have 5 million more protests of that because we don't need any more, like, killing. We don't need any more bullshit.
I feel like a lot of the things that the community wants to get together on is, you know, calling a number to, you know, bring the right people in for people with mental health issues, drug issues, people that, you know, we don't always need somebody with an armed weapon coming in and handling situations.
Yeah, and a lot of police are ex-military people, which they've come back with severe anxiety and stuff, and so they're trigger happy, not because they are bad people, but because they've gone through a lot of stress and that they take it out. A lot of suicides, a lot of family abuse a lot, and then they take it out on people that they're trying to serve. But once you've been in a war zone, it's kind of hard to get your mind back to not being in a war zone.
Yeah, you gotta literally like. I feel like vetting is definitely doing the right things, the right processes. I don't want to get into it too deep. Let me explain. Let me get back on.
Let's go back to where because we started the new feed. So you started about 6 or 8 years old. You started first listening to saxophone on The Simpsons.
Yeah, that was what Bleeding Gums Murphy was like. That was a dude that inspired me. Like when I saw him die like that and seeing like they kind of had the whole episode and they had a little journey with this guy. And I was like, how cute. And I was like, I felt like I had to do right by that old man. I felt so, I don't know, I internalized it a lot, because growing up, like, black male mentors and things of that nature, like literally helped my journey as an instrumentalist up to this point. And even as a songwriter, even as a rapper, even as a singer. So get into that. That's what inspired me that young. My first music teacher, who was Mr. Barnes, shout out to him. He didn't give me a sax right away. He gave me a clarinet.
Oh, they always do that.
I was so mad. They want to see how bad you want it, I think.
Yeah, because unless you already had some musical, like you've been playing like I was already playing the cornet, but I had got braces, so I got to switch to sax. So like, okay, sax, you can do that. But if you like just starting off, no, you're gonna do clarinet or flute because it's hard to get people to do those. Mm-hmm. So everyone wants they hear the sax. When I grew up, the sax was in every major band and solo. It's like Spandau Ballet, Duran Duran. Every single band that I grew up with had a sax solo in the dang song.
Careless Whisper was a big song. I gotta learn that song. Everybody always requests it because I'm big on picking up other songs.
Because there's a funny guy on YouTube that does it too. Have you seen him?
No, I'm so out of the loop. People are like, "You've been living under a rock." I'm like, "I actually have."
He would go around to like people and he would like serenade him, da 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 da, and everyone would be just laughing because it was just he did it like a comedy thing. But that's a good one. So with your music, when did you start feeling like, okay, this is what I'm gonna really get into?
Literally at 8 years old. Like I was already I was writing poetry. I was getting into a lot more. Like I was already. My pen was already sharp. Like, I was starting to write poetry. I think poetry was I know poetry was my first love before the instruments. It's just that when I saw The Simpsons, it took me there. Yeah. Mr. Barnes kind of just got me in the right direction. I remember, like, after 2 weeks, I quit, but I came back after a new music teacher came by, and I was like, I could play again. I could just weasel my way in. This dude was named Mr. Graham. There's 2 brothers. I had them both. The first one tested my knowledge of reading music. I didn't know how to read music, and I failed. And I was like, damn. He's like, you only have 2 tries. And I failed both times because I felt like I could outsmart the test, and I didn't know what I was doing. Oh, wow. And I come back the next year to the other grandbrother, and I finally learned. But I didn't get the instrument I wanted because there was no more saxophone, so I gave up. And so finally around about 10 years old, this dude, Mr. Love, comes by. Reggie Love, dreads, super chill. Like, I feel like he used to smoke before he came to class. I'm not going to get into it. But just super chill. I finally, took the time to learn. There was one class he taught the staff, and I memorized everything. I wrote notes and went back. He was like, you need to learn how to read this music before you get the sax. And he was the only person that kind of had it available. But somebody had already rented it out, and I begged my parents to give me a sax. I really wanted to pass the test. He was like, if you can get a hold of a sax, we'll get you in. They got me the sax. Not that one, but I still have the old one. And so from then it took on. I went to performing arts school, middle school, all the way to my freshman year. Then I went to a regular high school, did marching band there. We did jazz band. My sister was a big part of it. She's also an instrumentalist.
What do you play?
Oh, the trumpet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I played cornet way back in the days.
Oh, shoot. Man, it was just beautiful because you realize it's a level up. You keep leveling up. And then singing, I started singing. I've always rapped because poetry, I started with poetry. And there was artists I listened to. Kanye West, College Dropout album, 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying. Just Tupac. Anything Tupac was something I was listening to. DMX, somebody that was deep. Like, a lot of my poetic influences in my own rap music come from DMX. And then just thinking about certain motifs I'm going to use. Queen Latifah, Foxy Brown was a big influence. And then when I was in my teenage years is when I discovered Nicki. I think it was 2007. She had the version of The Jump Off and her version of Warning. Which it was like, who is this chick? And I remember just being obsessed. Nobody knew of her. And then 2010 comes. I'm like, I've been on Nicki. And she finally popped. And I was like, everybody's late on Nicki.
All the bands that I liked that later became famous, I stopped liking them as much because all the goofy people were liking them. Like, that's my stuff. What do you like?
That's how it is. And just to see that transition and growth from her to that rough and tough hood ass girl into mainstream
Uh-huh.
pop, and it was just like that's an interesting transition because you see like she built her own image in a sense too. So it's kind of like it's interesting growth because you're starting to realize what people want to see more of, and to see that transition, and then um, it's so crazy to even think. The reason why I started singing, I was always in choir. I was in a praise team growing up, so I liked singing. I was a little shy.
I was in the gospel choir.
Hey, you already know. And it kind of got me on my comfort
Jesus
zone.
on the main line, tell them what you want.
Oh my God, we did that one too.
Call them up, tell them what you want.
Yes. Okay, so
are you ready for a miracle? Ready as I can be.
we were lit.
Oh,
we were
wow.
that lit. Our praise team was small, but if we had more people, we would have turned
This
up.
was Palomar College. We tore it up. We had it was all these cool people in the gospel choir, man. Back then I wish I would have done lead, but I didn't. I was starting off beginning to be known as a singer because I was an instrumentalist.
Mm-hmm.
But I always wanted to be a singer, and since 10 years old, I really got like, this is my dream. I'm gonna be famous by 25. I passed that mark, but I'm not yet. I'm not ever giving up. It's like even if I'm 87, I'm gonna be playing my saxophone, or playing my guitar, or playing the piano, and writing music. Because I feel it's not only healing for people who listen to it, if they do listen to it, but it's a healing for yourself, like making something that's inside you come out. Like I don't even know how to teach someone how to write a song because it comes out. It's like
you can't.
It's just like a challenge.
Get an emotion.
It's channeled to like something like one day like a song will go boom all out, and then one day you'll be writing a song. It'll take like 12 years, 5 years to finish a song, and some of them just go like that, and just you don't know where they're coming from or where they're going.
Getting emotional because I can relate so much. I'm trying not to get teary eyed, but that's how it is. I don't know if you've heard the album that I have called Winnica.
I listened to like 2 or 3 of your songs. The one with you had the sax.
And I have like
the
tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was was it Facts?
Yeah, Facts. I listened to Facts. So
it's a part of the album too. And then there's one called Next to Me. My sister actually playing the keys in that one, and then I'm playing the sax, and I also sing in that. And there's a few tracks. Some of them are very poppy, like you can tell they're already ready for the industry. So it's just like those came quick, but there's one called Torn in Two that literally came from a hard moment. Like it took time. And even when you're talking about singing and writing, like there's just times like it is channeling. Some people are like, "What's your process?" And I'm like, "It's just do I feel the beat? Do I feel this? What am I feeling?" So before I wasn't even a singer. I didn't want to sing. I was just honestly rapping. And we had a group. My sister was involved in it too. It was called Mahogany Effect. Before that, we had an end of discussion, which was with the rapper named Rajay, and he was coming up too. I'm not sure if he still raps, but I remember Mahogany Effect fell apart and had written all these songs for it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sing it myself. And it was a process because one day I want to show you if I ever have the time my old sound recordings to like how my voice sounds now. Very different.
God.
I found my voice.
To my stuff, old stuff. I'm like,
it's different.
And it was good for that time, but I can't sell that shit now. If I ever get famous, it's gonna be like the demo recordings that go on this old CD of all demos. Where people go like, man, he was really bad, but I can tell he's gonna be great someday, you know.
Exactly, that's how it always is. Yeah. It's growth. People think it's instant, so they get disappointed when I don't sound that good. Well, how do I sound like you? Just keep going.
When you first record your first song and you hear it back and you're like, who's that singing? Because it doesn't sound like me. The sound in your head and the sound, but now I've got used to that sound on recording. That's me.
And it's so different. Sometimes do you ever feel like you can mold the voice to like the attitude you want? It's almost like acting when you're delivering your song.
Totally.
You want to match that mood, and that's what's really deep. And the journey of music has been long. Like I'm gonna get very kind of vulnerable with this. There was a time where I didn't play my sax for like 3 years, just 3 years straight, from 18 to 21. And my sister got me back into playing a little bit, and I didn't have a sax. And I just remember feeling something missing. I don't know if you feel like that when you take a break like that. You just feel like something's missing in your life. I just remember
when I stopped playing in a band, and I stopped going out, and I just went out again after interviewing Jaden. I went out and played in the park and sold my CDs and stuff.
There's something about
it. Was so hard to get back out. It took me like a year to just. When I got back from Japan, I played for 7 years at over 200 train stations, and I got kicked out of a lot of them, but I did really well. Made a lot of money in Japan. Came back and I tried a few places in San Diego, and I didn't make as much money, so I felt like, maybe people don't like it as much.
It's not even that. Sometimes people just ain't tipping.
Yeah, because they don't have so much money here. They have a lot of money in Japan, the people, and their bills are the smallest bill is $10, and their coins are like $1, $5 coins. So they throw a bunch of those coins out, and they say, "Oh, sorry, I don't have any bills," and they're like, "That's like $17 worth of coins."
Damn.
Yeah, so
that's
it's like the
lit.
concept there is totally different. They carry a lot of cash. So I came back, people are throwing some change, like just some coins. I'm like, oh, that's
Who the
fucking...
hell is? Yeah.
And then they
Feel
throw like
like-
$1 or two. Okay, they're like, yeah, man, $1. But only one time I made $100. But then Jaden came to one of open mics, which is a block from here. We used to have it on Adams Avenue at the Stats, and he had first time played there, and he said, I just got back from Balboa Park, and I just made $800. It was his first time
Damn.
he ever made that much money, and it was like a 3-day weekend because we had the open mic on Monday night. So he came on one of those holiday weekends where it was just wall to wall people in the park. So everyone was just throwing a little bit of money and just all added up at the end. He's like, "Damn, I made $800." So I'm like, okay, I got to go to Balboa Park now. So
Balboa is where it's at.
I didn't know that. I was playing at the beach,
Everybody's
which was good.
Beach is good, but it's always, honestly, like I noticed even from just touring in the place, like just walking around, there's always a few musicians, and they always got cash in their cases.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they haven't been there yet, but
and there's a lot of people from out of town that are coming here to travel, and they have money with them, and they're like, wow.
I'm just hoping this quarantine lifts because it's honestly slowing down a lot. It's slowing down a lot of interest for musicians, and it's slowing me down. Yeah.
There was just in San Diego last weekend. They court ordered opened up the restaurants again.
And what happened with that? Are they still
It
open?
just happened this weekend. So now it's...
That was in the news.
Yeah.
So they
court ordered.
up,
Now they're
open
open. Yeah.
Okay, well I'm gonna have to go
you
out
can
and
sit inside. Yeah, so I'm gonna definitely try to sit down inside because that people that were waitresses and waiters and people that got tips from bars and stuff, they were struggling so hard.
And
everyone,
everyone. That stimulus that they're gonna try to give out isn't even enough. Like,
no, it's like
not.
pittance, and they gave so much money to the rich corporations and stuff.
They got so many bailouts.
It's stupid. It's because they pay for the politicians, and the politicians work for them. It's like there's no, which is I think the next protest has to be. Whoops, I just spilled in my lap. The next protest has to be starting a third party because the two-party system has just become so corrupt.
We already knew it. Like, binary systems aren't where it's at. We know it. Yeah. We've been seeing it, and it splits so many people. And I think I even feel I feel like there may be even more unification in the sense of understanding and wanting and desiring. Okay, where can we come together on things? I think the third party may have to even be something that's very unifying, that stands for all.
Like People's Party or something. Actually, people have been saying the People's Party.
Mm-hmm. I like We the People. I kind of created a little thing like that.
Yeah, we need to have some kind of big movement because the Democrats and the Republicans are just so behind the times. And the only one that I could have supported was Bernie Sanders, and then he just totally got screwed again second time. And I'm hoping, like, I don't know what next 4 years will be like, who can run for vice president. I don't even, what's your age? You have to be like 35 years old to be president. I don't know if that's the same for vice president. I would love to have someone like AOC as a vice president.
That'd be beautiful.
And then someone that's older, like Dianne Feinstein, not Dianne, I hate her. There was a congresswoman in LA that was so progressive, and she got beat up. She was like more progressive than Bernie Sanders, but ever since she tried, like they just snuffed her out.
The only way to be right now is progressive. Looking at how the world was affected, looking at how our healthcare system isn't working for a lot of people.
I know how any of the people can say we don't need a universal healthcare. It's like right now, all the people that said we don't need it, they lost their jobs and lost their healthcare, and they're going to be like, okay, I changed my mind.
I already know there's already people like that. Why do you think this? I felt like the last election was a bit of a landslide. It shouldn't have been as close, but it was. It was like, whoa, people really changed their mind.
People are starting to come out. They have to come out. It's like they have no choice. And the crazy thing is when FDR became president, he wasn't progressive. His wife was progressive, but he was pushed so far to be progressive or he would have lost the next election because there was major protests in the streets because everyone was just starving.
Learning down.
So now... He's the
one that came up with the alphabet programs, right? Like with all those programs,
all the big ones he came up with food stamps. He came up with all the stuff. God, he put so many people to work to just build stuff and just make stuff and repair the roads and clean up the streets. And he would just start all these community. And he was pushed by the congressmen and the Democratic city council people and stuff because everyone was just so poor and just destitute. So it was going to be either a revolution and the country just go to shit, or it was going to be someone has to just give people what they really need.
It's happening.
And that's going to happen now.
My God, it's happening now.
Yeah.
And I remember having this conversation. I was in a little meeting with some people. We were supposed to be organizing some stuff. It turned out to not really be what I wanted, but I did get gems out of it. So we were talking about just how to make progressive change and how Black and brown communities aren't really benefiting from a lot. But now we're seeing it's honestly hitting all communities. It's not just Black and brown. And so it's like now we really got to think, what's the next step? And some people are like Civil War. Some people are like definitely a bit more aggressive action.
It would have been Civil War if they didn't do the New Deal. So that was what saved it, because people were just gonna go march. They were gonna just tear down Washington. They were gonna tear down the courthouses. They were gonna do everything. It was out of control because people were so poor.
Especially seeing with our current president who doesn't want to leave the office yet. I think that may be something that may happen anyway. We'll see. I'm going to pray that it doesn't. I pray that we can come to a...
I feel like he will be pushed to be more progressive once he sees the demonstrations that are just out of control. He's going to okay, we have to do something. We have to do universal health care. We have to give people a living wage. There
got to be a stimulus package no matter what.
Yeah, there has to be a universal basic income or something, because there's not enough jobs right now, and you can't just have the people who have jobs making a living wage and then no one else who doesn't have a job making a wage. So
you already see the discrepancies with that.
So
and it just makes me a little... I like how we got political.
Which I like the fact that to do music, we have such a voice for young people. If we don't use that for something positive, it's like a waste. And so I'm so glad that some people still in music are still trying to... I feel with what happened in the 80s and 90s is like the music became all run by the industries, so the internet had kind of turned it around to where there's people that are way like Rage Against the Machine would have never got famous if the internet wasn't around, because they were totally against all the capitalism and all the corruption in even the record industry.
It's so egomaniac driven. I've been a part of it for a little bit, and I've seen some ugly things, had ugly things happen, and it's just very it's eye-opening where it's like it's not even worth my peace.
Yeah, and they promoted during the 90s and the 80s, they promoted only rappers that were talking like gangster rap, because they wanted everyone to get into gangs and everyone to be thrown in jail.
Because there's money lying in their pocket.
Yeah, that's what they wanted.
So crazy to think how some people were really investing in the prison system, even in the industry.
Totally.
And do you remember? I forgot who it was. But there's a rapper who came out with he said there was a secret meeting. I gotta find this.
There's one rapper that totally goes into all the conspiracy theories that the true conspiracy theories that are he really studies, and his name is what's his name? Immortal Technique. Have you heard of him?
Yes.
Oh shit, he talks about some. And then I start looking on the internet. I start going into all the Wikipedia pages. I'm like, oh my god, he knows shit. I didn't hear about this meeting. I didn't hear about this investigation. Wow, he knows all this history.
That's what's crazy.
And now he would have never got popular on any radio station if the internet didn't take him off. So we have it's like to do something really out there in people's faces can get you known, where before you're not going to be on MTV. You're not going to be on anything. We want something just cookie cutter and. Everyone's yay, we're gonna sing and get drunk and have fun. That's what it's all love songs, Nothing's about anything of substance, during the industry.
It's still like that right now.
It is. And that's what they're pushing, but they're all losing all the big industries they can't sell.
Especially right now, everybody's struggling where are these chains going? I can't even get a new chain, I can't get a new car right now. My music, I want to, when there's time after this.
Oh, I just broke some new cell phones I bought within a year ago, and they're saying we can't get the screen. And I'm like, I just bought this a year ago. It's a new cell phone. What the fuck? You don't have screens? And right now we're having trouble with getting. That's from this country and that's from this country. Like, oh shit, everything's closed down and factories are not going.
Oh my god, I didn't think about it. I haven't had to replace a phone like that, thank God. But this is deeper than what you're giving me tea, because I'm a very spiritual person. I don't put myself in something unless it's something I'm invested in. Definitely through that veganism and things of that nature. I've been turning my eye to that a lot more. But It's real as out here. We're struggling. Our country
Yeah.
is hell about to like collapse if we're not careful, and it is on the brink of collapse.
And there's so many countries that right away said we're going to guarantee all the wages of your employees if you shut down. And they shut down and they stopped the pandemic, or they slowed it down a lot more than we did. But because they guaranteed people that they're going to get a wage from the government. This is a time of emergency. If we have, in times of emergency, millions and billions of dollars to go bomb all these countries that have nothing to do with anything we said they had to do with, we have money to feed the people in our own country. But they're so stupid.
I'm thinking a lot. I like talking with you because it's getting me to think a lot. And, to be very frank, before this year, I wasn't thinking about politics. I was honestly up in the cloud. I was so focused on myself, very self-centered. I was going through my own hardships. But literally being out there in the protests and seeing different sides of things and different angles and seeing how different communities were affected, Native communities, African American communities. Every community is basically been affected, and now I'm starting to realize,
you think of all the casinos that were run by Native American tribes, and all the casinos had to shut down.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Everybody's money's getting touched, and I think now people are really like, okay, I see how you feel.
But the crazy thing is, they let all the huge corporations stay open.
There's something shady about that. We already know.
And all the moms and pops had to shut down.
We're seeing it out here. Well, I'm glad they reopened the restaurants, but we're starting to see it out here. We're starting to see it there's so many examples of it. And if we're not out on the streets, I hate to say it, even rioting, then what are we doing? What are we gaining? Yeah. This is what this conversation has me thinking, because I never thought in this aspect before. And I don't know if you did your intentions yesterday for the conjunction, but a lot of them
were I went to Balboa Park and sat around with all these people. It was so cool.
Yeah, but
we sat around and did a little ceremony. We had all these crystals and stuff.
That's beautiful.
Just people I met, some total strangers.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Okay, show me.
These three young girls. They're way too young for me, but they were so cute. And I got this other young guy to come over and sit with us, and we all sat in a circle.
They're like, oh, this look lit.
Yeah, they were.
You gotta show the camera.
It was so cool. Well, maybe one of them might be listening and watching. I'm not gonna say their names, but they were so
anonymous.
They were so cool. These cute girls. And then I got this old lady come sit with us and tell her about her favorite authors. She's like, I love Edgar Allan Poe, and she was all talking about
deep, especially around this time. Because one thing I wanted to talk about is my intentions were not self-centered. They were very I want people to get paid an equal wage. I feel like agricultural workers, they were very essential. I feel like now essential work should be 25 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're already seeing that. We wouldn't have stores, we wouldn't have our food in our grocery stores, wouldn't have our stuff packed. These are intentions I'm writing down. I wish I brought my intentions list. If I knew we were gonna get into this conversation
we always go wherever it goes.
Because in all honesty, more and more I realize there's so many messed up stuff, and my intentions list was about other things, what people would consider political, which isn't even political. It's humanitarian. It's just thinking about the human consciousness and the human condition. It's not even about.
They try to say it's political so they can get us to stop talking about it. That's what they do.
BLM's political. How one group of people that are really affected by this political? This is real. This is reality. Yeah. We're seeing it. We finally seen it in our faces. We've seen what happened to George Floyd. We've seen what happened to Breonna Taylor. We've seen those things, Ahmaud Arbery. We're seeing things and atrocities happen to people in the LGBT community that are happening. The fear mongering, and a lot of the just people trying to elicit fear in our sentiments. I notice it's been so rampant. I don't let it get to me. Whenever I feel fear from a post, I gotta ignore it because I'm like, oh, that's bringing me fear. That's an unnecessary emotion. Fear
to me is false evidence appearing real. That's the acronym for fear. Because I haven't felt any. There was a couple times where I felt like I almost had a fever, and I'm like, oh shit, what if I caught this thing? What if I caught this thing? And then all of a sudden I started getting really hot. And it was just because I was I was just so worried that I raised my fever. And I went to work and they said, oh, you're 102? And I said, and it was just because I was thinking I had a fever, right?
Your body is crazy.
I'm like, okay, something's not working. I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to go rollerblading. I went rollerblading around the corner. And I got sweat to death. And I come back and he goes, oh, you're perfect now.
Because you weren't stressing about it. The mind is a crazy thing. And what we can do with our mind is amazing. You can trick yourself into feeling you're sick. Hypochondriac is a very real
my grandmother, thing. When I was younger, we'd stay at her house and oh, are you okay? Are you having a fever? Oh, are you cold? She kept saying, are you cold? And we were little kids. We were running around. We're not cold. She always made me put a jacket on to go outside. She's like, "You're gonna catch a cold. You're gonna catch a cold. Don't
Oh,
get cold."
hell no.
And she would, and so by the time we left for 3 days at her house, I would always feel like I'm getting a cold because it was like she just conditioned it into my mind.
That's so crazy, because that's real ass shit. People, see, it's that fear mongering, and we ain't got time for that. We don't got time. Like this whole black and white thing we try to resurface. Like, yes, racism's still there. Racism still exists. We know it. But it also brings
So
this
are you
fear.
mixed? Are you black and something?
I'm black, Mexican, different things. I haven't looked at my ancestry, but I know I'm black and Mexican.
Okay, that's cool.
So yeah, for the most part, I'm grateful for that. It gave me two different sides of understanding and two different sides of culture, and it gave
Do you
me.
speak Spanish?
Hablo español.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nihongo, watashi wa nihongo ni nararu.
You speak Japanese. I understand. I've been going to like certain Japanese settings, and I can understand the Japanese language, not understand it like I know what
you
they're
know
saying,
it's
but I'm
someone
like,
speaking Japanese.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm like,
totally different than all the other
interesting.
Asian languages. Yeah.
I love it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Spanish. I don't know why. I'm not sure why.
Well, because
they have a feminine and masculine.
No, but Spanish uses and Latin uses a consonant and a vowel all the time, which is what Japanese always do. There's no consonant by itself except or which is usually But so every take an English word and the Spanish derivative of constitution is so every constitution, every one of them has a vowel sound after a consonant sound. That's what Japanese is. So that's why it's easier for Japanese to speak Spanish because they have the same vowel consonant. Where if they say Tim with just an M at the end, they're like himu. They have to have a vowel sound at the end. They can't understand like just a consonant by itself.
That makes sense.
That's the same in Timoteo. It's always got Timoteo.
Yeah.
Got,
whoa.
Yeah. So Japanese can totally speak. English is the hardest language for them to learn, and they only have 27 sounds. English has about 400 sounds. So they can't. R and L is just one sound to them. There's no. It sounds the same, and it almost sounds like a D in some cases. Like arigato, it's R, but it's adigato. Aligato. Some people do the L sound. So they say really. They say reary. Like they can't do the L sound.
I always realize that, but I always just hear, oh, that's an accent. Now I know why it's coming out like that.
It's just they don't have a character for it, so they've never made their mouth do that, and they try to put a Japanese character to the English sound so they can pronounce it, but they don't know the Romaji, which is the Roman letters. So they're constantly still trying to put the vowel because that's what they have at all their consonants. So it's really funny when they speak Japanese. When they sing in English, only Japanese people can handle Japanese people singing in English because it's like.
I gotta hear this.
Let's do an old classic song like Let It Be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be.
I'd be like, what you saying, dude?
Speaking good words of wisdom, let it be.
Yo, I haven't been to Japan, but I really want to go.
I love so many things about Japan. The only thing I
Tell me
can't
your
handle.
favorite thing. After you tell me what you
okay.
can't handle.
I can't handle the weather. It's just
What's
so cold for 8 months and then so hot during 3 months, and the mosquitoes kill you during those 3 months, and it's so humid. And it just goes from super hot to super cold in like a week. And then it never changes. It just gets colder and colder and colder until you're wearing 7 layers of clothes, and I look like that guy on South Park, Timmy. I'm all like, I cannot. And inside your house, you can only heat like 1 or 2 rooms at a time, and you gotta like shut all the doors so the hallway's freezing cold. You walk to the restroom and you can see your breath in the hallway, and you sit in. There's no heater in the bathroom. It's just a heated toilet seat, so your butt's not cold, but you're like bundling up. You're like. No. Some people might have like a little heater next to the toilet, which is rare, like a rich person's house. Only a few people I knew had central heating, which is like big cities, but it's like old-fashioned stuff.
Nah, man.
I live in the boonies, so it was pretty tough.
You get used to it?
No. 13 years I've wanted to kill myself every winter. I hated winter.
Damn.
I could not stand it.
So what's your most favorite thing, though?
Oh, the girls are so beautiful and they're so nice.
Okay.
Because growing up, I was really popular in school until I got to the point where I was confident with girls, and then all of a sudden, like, run away from me, like, oh, But when I was shy and all the girls wanted to hang out with me and wanted to flirt with me and stuff, and then I became not shy, they're like, oh shit, it's too much, you know?
Now. Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
But then in Japan, they're just nice. Girls are just nice to you, and they're just. And I found out what it is. They spend $100 on an hour for English lessons. So if you're speaking English and you're gonna get a free lesson from you, they'll go out with any English-speaking guy, and then eventually it might work out into something. But you think they just want to hang out with you because they like you and stuff like that. But they're like, free English lesson.
Let me practice my English right now. Dang. Man, there's so many places I want to go. I want to go to Brazil. Like, Brazil seems cool. I know there's a Japanese population.
Yeah, it's
big.
big. Yeah.
What else? I want to go to Nigeria. I heard it's very nice out there.
Well,
I don't know about the weather.
probably a lot warmer.
Hell yeah, it is. But I definitely, there's so many things I want to do, and hopefully we can.
Hopefully your music can take you there.
It will. Like, I have fan bases in Brazil, and those are my. That's why I mentioned it.
Well,
so I really want to go.
You gotta.
It depends on COVID. What the hell's going on? Because we're not allowed to go anywhere right now.
Yeah, I was gonna go back to Japan to see my daughter for my birthday 222, and
okay, look at that.
Her mom said, "No, you can't come. It's wait until the pandemic's completely over. You can't be spreading your American shit in our country because you guys don't take care of shit, man, over here."
It's fast.
My daughter was supposed. That's my daughter when she was 6 years old. She's 8 years old, and she was supposed to start 3rd grade in August. Come back here, and she didn't because of the pandemic. So, yeah.
What's her name?
Rosina.
Rosina's a beautiful name.
Rosina was my aunt. There's a picture of her over there. She died young. She was very beautiful. So I said, I'm going to name my daughter Rosina when I have a daughter. And then after I named her Rosina, my grandma says, oh, that's so great. You named this after all 3 of us. I'm like, that's what you talking about. She goes, my mom's named Rosina. I'm named Rosina. I'm like, I'll call my grandma Rosa since I was a little kid. So I never knew her name was Rosina. I only knew her daughter, who died young, was Rosina. And she goes, oh, yeah, my mom's Rosina, too. And my grandfather, his first wife was named Rosina. So he married 2 Rosinas, the first wife and the second wife.
Well, that's deep.
And I think the first wife died young. So he married another Rosina.
That is deep.
Like, we had like 4 or 5 Rosinas in the family.
Ain't nothing wrong
And I never knew that. It was just until I named my daughter Rosina. For the trip, huh?
Hell yeah.
Were you named after someone?
My mom's nickname was Angel. That's what I always hear.
Oh, okay.
And I believe my mom and my dad were Farrah fans.
That's what.
Yeah. So it's pretty deep. I really enjoy the name. I really like it. It's cool. Angel Farrah fan.
It's good for a CD cover. It's good for any promotional stuff. Some people are named things like. There's so many famous artists that were named. Robert Zimmerman, you know who that is?
Tell me about him.
Okay.
What song did you do?
So he changed his name because they said Robert Zimmerman sounds kind of goofy. You do folk music. Why don't we call you? No, I think he chose it out of a book. Bob Dylan.
Oh, I know Bob Dylan.
Yeah, so you know it is his real name.
Like I know Bob Dylan.
And then who else changed their name? Oh, of course, like Marilyn Monroe. She was. What's her name?
I just assumed Marilyn Monroe.
No, her name was that song. From the 22nd row, saw you something more than sexual, more than just our Marilyn. Goodbye, Norma Jean. Her name was Norma Jean, and they thought it
That's
sounded.
a cute name.
I know, but they said that sounded too like little white girl, like you know, like
There was no
giddy good, and she wanted like Marilyn Monroe, you know. And then there's so many famous artists that change their name, but you don't need to change your name. I was named after Timothy Leary, who was my dad's guru. He was the main proponent of the whole LSD psychedelic movement, and the Beatles had him in a lot of their albums. They have him on stage when they were doing a lot of their concerts. They were doing a final BBC before they broke up. And he's right next to the John Lennon. He's all sitting on like clapping.
He's like, look what I get to be at.
Yeah, it's a song. All we need is love. That's Timothy Leary sitting right next to John Lennon doing like a lotus posture and stuff. He was a crazy guy. But my dad was totally named after that. So I like Timothy. I debated using different names because I was born Timothy Giannakis, which is a Greek name, but it's spelled Giannakos. And Gia, some people say Giannakis. When I went to Japan, they said Giannakis. I'm like, no, it's Giannakis, like Japan. They said, why don't you spell it like that? So I changed it to J-A.
That makes sense. It had a Greek ring to it. Janakos.
Yeah, Janakis. Yeah.
Oh, well, Janakis. I thought Janakos.
Well, yeah, it probably was. It was probably Giannakopoulos way back in the days, but it didn't fit on the Ellis Island paper, so they had to take like Stephanopoulos became Stephens.
What?
Giannakopoulos became Giannakis. They took off the Opolis, which means of the people or something like that. Opolis, like metropolis. They took off because the long Greek names were so big for the immigration papers. They like, no, you don't have that many
Yeah,
things.
now shorten your name.
Giannakopoulos is like the super long one.
And that's such a tough decision, and people, I don't know. I just think about this country and things you sacrifice to be here, because it's not always like roses and
No,
butterflies.
so many people have sacrificed so much shit.
Have you read The Jungle? Upton Sinclair.
Oh, I read something by Sinclair before.
Upton Sinclair is.
And I listened to many of the audio tapes where people are talking about him all the time.
It was just so deep. The way he thought and the way he could put himself in somebody's head. The Jungle was a deep book just because it was talking about the meat processing plant back in the day. And they talked about it, I believe, an immigrant family that came. I forgot the country. I haven't read this book in about 10 years.
Oh.
And it gives you their story and why, at the end, this guy who was basically the main character going to work, and I think his family had died. They all got sick, and he's at a communist party retreat in a meetup because the shit that he's been through working in this processing plant, coming as an immigrant, he's like realizing we don't have no rights in this country.
So many people died building the Empire State Building. Like 30 people a month fell off the building while they're making it because there was no like safety regulation.
That's what he got into as well.
And people were like drinking whiskey and stuff while they're like on skyscrapers doing it because there was like
that
no
was
laws against it while you're at work. You couldn't drink or smoke cigarettes.
So deep, because that's what Upton Sinclair like talked about a lot about these meat processing plants and safety. How some people fell
into the thing, got grinded up. Yeah, those. It's like some parts of China now are like what U.S. used to be like. Like there's just no regulation and everyone just like they're poor people. Let them just die if they die. You know, it's like
humanism.
Yeah,
nothing,
there's no care for people. When capitalism was the big heydays of like the robber barons and stuff, they just worked people to death, and it was almost as bad as being a person in a slave factory when you worked for a corporation because they were either that or they lived on the street. They were super poor. They had to get a job, so they just went to the
and how hard
huge
it was to
factories.
Rent.
Yeah, and like 3 or 4 people worked at the same factory, lived in a little small apartment together near the factory because they didn't have enough money to drive to the factory.
That's what they
so
got.
They had like these dormitory places for all the workers.
Please read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair.
Yeah, he talked about that. I've heard. Yeah.
You'll be very like, I don't know. This book just took me to a different world and made me understand. Like even my grandparents.
Have you read 1984?
Well, that's
that
so
was good.
Because I'm kind of in that shit now, but I don't want to get into it too deep. But there was this. There's another book. Wasn't Jungle? There was something else. Oh, I wanted to bring up the fact that my grandparents are immigrants and their journey from Mexico. My grandfather, he came so many times over. He had to keep coming back, and his journey into like getting into little jobs, picking fruit, definitely working his way up.
How hard that would be.
The condition, and now he's living in his own house that he owns with my grandmother. They both own the house.
And the crazy thing is, so many people were still sending money back to their family in Mexico.
That's
when
exactly
they were
what
like not
about.
even surviving.
You had to get lucky. You had to find good people to get you a good place, and both my grandparents got lucky in finding good people.
Oh, wow.
It's always like luck because that's why we're here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's kind of like a struck of luck, or even just working yourself to the bone to make sure we have. And I don't take it for granted about our ancestors anymore. Like I really have a belief that our ancestors helped. And I remember just having. I was at a rapé ceremony. I want to bring this up.
The what?
A rapé ceremony.
What's that?
I think it's tobacco snuff.
Oh, okay.
And I just remember being so relaxed. I was in a deep meditative state. And there was a moment I felt and saw people of different backgrounds. But I felt like they knew me and I knew them. And it was just like, I was so relaxed. And I was in the middle of them and they came around me, just hugged around me. And I felt this love and this care. And I was like, are these my ancestors? They have to be my ancestors. There's no way. The people that came before us, doesn't matter what. The only reason we're here is because of them. And so I'm
part Seminole or Cherokee, which they were forced to coexist in Florida after the Trails of Tears, so they were mixed, the tribe. So some people still know which ones they were, but my mom thought we were Seminole, and when I finally met my dad after 30-something years, he said, "No, you're Cherokee." And then my brother did the blood test thing. I don't know how they do the saliva or whatever, the DNA testing, and it said he has no Native American, which I don't believe. Some of these DNA people might be wanting to wash things out of the memory of people that have a lot of European ancestry. They're like, no, you don't have any Native American, because they want us to, not care about our ancestors.
We got to. Like, I even see some things here that I'm like, this is the crystals.
Yeah,
wearing,
I have like African motifs over there.
We all got some African blood in us. We already know where we originated from. I don't even want to get extra on it, but we all know where life originated at scientifically. Even, I think, I don't know, what I like to think about is like how religion kind of just try to strip all sorts of holistic measures and prove that there's other things and other ways to really breathe and meditate and even just.
Well, you know why they burn the witches? Because they were the ones who were into the energy healing, and they were the ones who were the midwives, and they wanted men to take the power away from women by controlling the birthing process and keep. As soon as they get the baby, they take it away from the mother and they keep it away for like a long enough, and then they let them get back with the mother slowly. But they don't have when a baby comes out right away, their head should be put right by the heart of the woman, and it starts syncing with the rhythm of the woman, and that keeps them from being a robot. So if the baby got separated right away and doesn't ever have that connection with the heart, even if it's a nurse holding him, it'll start becoming like what's his name? He was the president, and he's going to be soon out of the office. The guy who just doesn't care about people. What do they call that?
Narcissist sociopath.
Sociopath. People that just don't think about other people because they didn't have a close connection with like a loving parent where their brainwaves synced up with the heart. Because a lot of the really rich people, they're like, oh, send them to boarding school. Oh, give them to the wet nurse or whatever. Like, they don't take care of the kids. A lot of the really rich people.
We gotta start doing it.
They got into this like whole way of doing it, which the men who took over the medical establishment in the 1600s wanted women out of it. Midwiving, you had to get it. So all the people that they call witches were all midwives, and they all knew about healing, herbal healing, and all natural healing. That's what they call them, like magical witches. It was just
That's
all about
deep because
that
really is what I remember. This even being said, like this professor that taught that literally like referred us to the book The Jungle was always talking about natural methods of things, and smart women were burned at the stake. It wasn't because they were really doing some evil stuff. It's because they had knowledge.
They had knowledge. They didn't want people to have that knowledge.
I really hate
they wanted a corporation to patent whatever their natural herbal thing was, to take it out of context and isolate it genetically and whatever, and put a patent on it. So now you have to pay a fee to get it, instead of just growing it in your yard or growing it naturally. Because all these herbs just grow naturally. We just have to know how to find them and how to process them ourselves, which is what the people that were called witches did.
Are you into Dr. Sebi? Very into like saying foods heal, like everything heals, how to have a clean diet.
I've read a lot of the different. I mean, I listened to a lot of them on Pacifica Radio back when I was in Orange County. They used to have this station that they blocked. They have a transmitter in TJ that blocked it for San Diego, putting classical music over progressive politics, but they would talk about all that stuff.
That's so deep. We're such a propagated state, and we tend to forget that we got propaganda too, and then we blame everybody else. We got so much.
It's like
we blame everybody else for.
We say the Russians meddled with the election. If they meddled with anyone's election, they learned it from us because we meddled with everyone's election, including theirs. We fucked with everyone's election.
We always
do. King of the fucking and stealing elections. I was just watching this whole thing about every election since Ronald Reagan's been stolen. It's just each party tries to steal it enough to one party steals it better than the other one.
Is that why Trump is mad?
Yeah, because he tried to steal it and the other party stole it better. Because they had the control of the mainstream media and the government.
They really did this time. Oh my God.
Because they said Donald Trump got more votes this time than he got the first time, way more than Hillary. And this old man who doesn't know shit, who totally gaslighted the debate was so bad, he just gaslighted the hell out of Bernie Sanders. And gaslighting means you purposely say lies over and over until they're like questioning their own reality. Like he said, "Oh yeah, Bernie, you have lots of PACs," and Bernie was like, "What?" And he said, "Oh yeah, you take PAC money. You do. You have lots of PACs." And he's like, "You can't defend something like totally out left field lie." And he did all these lies in the last debate, and it was like, "Oh my god, I can see where this is gonna go." And the pandemic started, and they're like, "Okay, we're locking everything down, so now we can control this election."
I remember this clip in which like the guy was announcing the pandemic, and there was like, "We're in a live exercise," and Donald's like, "You just said so," and I'm like, "Wait up, what's that supposed to mean? We into some shit that we don't even know about that's deeper than us."
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's probably a push to help the ecosystem in our environment, maybe through some like sort of like weird control? Because if you think about it,
I think the pandemic, whether it was started by humans, which I think it probably was started by humans, it became its own consciousness, and it started going against the people who created it, or
we saw so much shit and we learned so much shit. It exposed so much shit.
Yeah, this pandemic is just weird, and the crazy thing is I had a video on YouTube that I had on YouTube for 3 or 4 years, and it's when I was an energy healer in Japan, and I learned about MMS, which I'm going to say here, and hopefully not gets blocked on YouTube because they block my videos. MMS is Miracle Mineral Solution, or Miracle Mineral Supplement, and it's made naturally, and when you combine it, it's called stabilized oxygen, and whenever you oxygenate anything, it can't hold viruses, it can't hold what are the 4 different ones? It's viral infections, fungal infections, and bacterial infections. None of those can survive under a high oxygenated environment. So you take it internally, or you put it on orally, externally, and it kills any bacterial infection, fungal infection, or a viral infection. They say fungal, viral, bacterial infection. And this video and hundreds of videos were all over YouTube, and then all of a sudden I put it back up because I couldn't find it anymore. I'm like, what the hell happened? Right when the pandemic started, I put the video back up, and they blocked it. And they still, all my ones that they blocked, I wrote a letter and I said, there's nothing dangerous about this, whatever. And they would watch it and they would go, okay, yeah, we released it. It was messed up. Our algorithms were messed up. This one they won't even. It's still in processing. They're still processing the request to let it, because they don't want anyone to know about it.
And you know what's tripping? Whenever you post anything saying COVID or election, or they have the site at the bottom on your Instagram post. That's creepy.
Yeah.
Who the hell's monitoring our stuff to do that?
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. And I posted it on a couple sites, and right away, fact checkers have decided this like, who the fuck's fact checking my video? This is bullshit. You just got some fucking algorithm to tell me that this is not true.
My God.
Because Fauci's not saying it? You think Fauci he works for the medical industry? You think he's going to say what actually kills viral infections? And it's free to everyone to just make in their living room? They're not going to let you know that.
There's so much control. And Dr. Sebi said this line. He's like, there's no cures invented in this country. It's ran like a mental asylum. They keep giving us medication we get addicted on.
Then you need another medicine for that medicine, another medicine for that. They go, oh, we got the money flowing on this guy.
You mess up your kidneys with this. Here's this for your kidneys. Oh, now your pancreas is messed up. And that's
now your blood sugar's up. Okay, now your blood pressure's up high. Oh, you need more medication.
That's why I don't take medication.
I don't take any. I've never. I only took for a toothache. In Japan, I asked them for kompa, which they have a choice. Every doctor has a choice to do kompa, which is Chinese medicine, or the Western medicine. They always push the Western medicine because they get a kickback from the pharmacy, because it's always next door to their clinic.
Same thing with psychological medications, by the way.
Yeah, they get a kickback. So they always push that, and then I say, no, I want kompa. And they say, oh, okay. And they write me a prescription. And I go down to the Chinese doctor down the street, and he's just like, he gets all these herbs and puts them together, and he's like, okay, take this, and that. I'm like, okay.
That's
yeah, still in Japan, they still have that old way, but the doctors try to get you to go straight to the Western drug.
I've even been offered opiates for neck pain. I just got a little. I've been having this crick in my head. They're like, talking about anything.
No. Natural remedies. This is what I do for neck pain, just in case any of you guys wonder what I do for neck pain.
There's so many things being pushed, and I'm starting to realize, like, I feel like this is the era for, like, holistic healing. And
if any of you guys have neck pain on the video, I hope your neck pain just went away. That's natural medicine right there from the Native Americans. And it was actually, this medicine right here is the most amazing medicine in the whole damn world. This has been known throughout every culture.
What is it?
Marijuana.
Oh. I couldn't smell it. She over like, really?
You can open a window or turn the fan on. Sorry, guys. That was a perfect segue into the medicinals.
I like that.
So I actually got out of marijuana in my later college days, and I got really against it because I had a girlfriend who was a little bit nuts, and I thought, it made her more nuts, and I thought people were just nuts who did it. And then I became part of the Hemp Council of Orange County, which was talking about the natural hemp clothing, hemp paper, hemp fuel for cars, hemp dashboards. Mercedes does all hemp dashboards, and all the natural resins you can use with the natural plant. So I was all into that, but I was like, all the guys were stoners. I'm like, you just want to get stoned. I want this for the people who do natural things. And hemp seed, you can live off that. It's got like so much protein and fatty acids and so many other things that you need in your diet. You can almost live completely off hemp seed if you got in a famine. Which there's so many uses of this plant. So I got back into it later. My later years of college, I went to college for a long time, because these really smart people started like getting me back into it. They're like, we're all fucking straight A students. We're fucking maniacs.
For me, I just can't. Like, I can't function. But CBD is something that's like,
okay,
because I literally like will smoke too much to the point I'm like, I'm done. I'm not productive. See, that's me. Maybe one day I'll be able to control it.
Yeah, for me,
CBD
it's the
really
opposite. I do a lot of leaf because bud's too strong for me. I think leaf has more CBD than it does THC, but it gets me stoned. But for some reason, marijuana for me makes me super active. I want to go rollerblading around the block right now after this. When you guys leave, or I want to go. Too bad it's not Wednesday. I want to go to the drum circle and dance all night. Have you ever been to the drum circle?
Not an OB. Not yet.
Go to OB drum circle. Bring your sax tomorrow. I'm gonna bring my sax.
It's tomorrow, huh? Okay.
I've been saying.
You gonna bring it?
I've been saying I'm gonna do my sax.
Tell me the keys ahead of time so I could actually. Get on it.
Yeah, no, we're gonna. The drummers are going crazy, so we're just gonna. You improvise and I improvise, and we kind of work around each other.
I'm really good with A minor blues. Like
we'll do it in whatever key you want.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I was poor, so I bought all my own instruments, and I went to the library, and I got all these books on music theory and jazz improvisation. And then after I graduated high school, I went to this high school music camp at Cal State Fullerton where they taught jazz improvisation in one of the classes. And that was so amazing. I learned so much. And he gave me all this workbook to work for the next 5 years on learning jazz improvisation. And that was really good back in the days. I just haven't been practicing as much. But yeah, theoretically, I can do anything like that. But when I smoke pot, I can actually improvise way better than when I don't smoke pot.
There's something you activate spiritually. I don't know what it is.
It's a connection. It's the connection to sound and waves and stuff. Like the fingers kind of know where you're going.
You don't gotta think.
No,
you're not thinking.
Because I think you're too focused on what you're trying to get done on your sax. But when you just do a little boom, it's like it opens up. So I don't know what it is.
That's fact. And that's another thing I'm starting to realize too. Is I was playing with some, I think they're DJ Alina or something. I remember we were in front of Waterfront Park. And I remember seeing all these trucks there, and I remember some guy came up to me, he helped me with my chair. He's like, you want to take a hit of this real quick? And I was like, you got weed? This is when I smoke. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So he was just spoiling me. He was just like, you want another hit? I'm like, I'm good. I'm about to play. But there was something that happened that night, and it just let go. And I was like,
yeah, you went to town.
You went to town. But that's the connection you feel. It's something, you're not nervous. You let go of every inhibition. That's what I like about marijuana.
There was this guy who does, at the open mics on the beach, he did this, it sounded like a computer. His you know that guy? You know what I'm talking about?
No, but I want to hear
his beatbox is like this electronica beatbox. It's so amazing. You're like, that's coming out of his mouth. And then I got stoned, And I went on and I started doing the same thing. I was like, he looked over at me like, what the fuck? How did you just learn that? I'm like, oh my god. I was looking at him and it was like my mouth was just doing this weird shit. I was like, whoa, that's fucking cool.
Hell yeah, it is.
But let's go back to like what when I first started writing music and I started wanting to be a famous singer-songwriter, it was during the apartheid of South Africa, and I was determined my music was going to start these big music festivals against the apartheid movement. And then all of a sudden, African apartheid ended, and I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do with my music now?
You can still make it like that.
No, but I'm just saying it was.
I'm like, you were around back then, guys.
That was when I was reading the African apartheid journals. I was reading the anti-apartheid journals. I was reading Stephen Biko's life story, which the reason I heard about that is I loved Peter Gabriel, and he has a song called "Oh Biko, Biko, Biko's Biko," and I'm like, who's Biko? And I looked it up, and I got his autobiography, and I read it. He got killed in prison, false charges and shit, because he was leading this big movement against apartheid. And the crazy thing is, have you seen the movie Searching for Sugar Man?
I haven't.
Oh, you gotta see this movie.
Okay.
So this guy named, just his last name, I want to say Santiago, but it's not. Some natural Spanish last name, Rodriguez. No, Rodriguez, that's what it is. His albums, 2 albums he released in the late 60s, early 70s. He was like the Bob Dylan writer, and he had the most amazing lyrics and the most progressive thoughts. And it didn't take off, or maybe they didn't let it take off, because it was like political lyrics. You know, like there's nothing on the radio. We just killed. You know, a lot of people were gonna kill. You know, they finally killed in the 80s. They killed the last really progressive singing about peace and justice and shit.
That's so trippy. It makes me mad.
So this guy, he didn't know, but his 2 CDs or 2 albums, this was before CDs, got sent to South Africa, and they started duplicating them because they were political lyrics, and that became the anthem of the anti-apartheid movement. And then after apartheid ended, these journalists were going like, why he only released 2 albums? Maybe he died. So they started asking, does anyone know where he's at? No. He sold more records in South Africa than Elvis. And he never knew, and he never got a penny. Because he did those 2 albums in the early 70s, and then he became a demolition man. And he had kids and a family and everything, and then he got out of music. And then some journalist calls him up and goes, are you... He's like, yeah. He's like, your music sold more than Elvis in South Africa. He's like, what music? He goes, my 2 CDs, my 2 albums I released back in the 70s and no one bought it? Yeah, it's the biggest thing in South Africa. He's like, what the fuck? So they toured him all over South Africa, full sold out stadiums.
Whoa!
And his music, they have a live album of all of his hits, and then his 2 albums that he did that were just, the lyrics were so progressive that they would not let him on the radio. And he just never, and plus his name was, you know, it's a Mexican-American guy named Rodriguez. It's kind of like, you know. But he was like his music was like or better than Bob Dylan. And it was so like politically charged. Now you listen to it, it's like not so political, but back then it was like the establishments. He says, I go everywhere I go on the street, all the people are poor and they're suffering and all this, but all I hear when I turn on the news is the establishment's blues. What their stock market's going down. Oh, they're having trouble. They're not. What about all these fucking people that are starving, man? You're not talking about us ever. You're talking about the establishment blues, you know. And he had all these songs about shit like that, and it was just so in your face. And one of his songs was called Sugar Man. That's what they call it, Search for Sugar Man. And it was the first song on the album, and the government it was the record players only back then. So they just scraped it out with a file. So you would buy the album, and that one song you couldn't hear it. Put on, you just go right
That's
out.
so fucking deep. Yo, when people do so they don't hear your shit. That's so fucking deep.
And that made it go like sold more because people underground started buying it from other places and stuff.
That's beautiful.
But the crazy thing is the industry in America knew that this was selling in South Africa, but they didn't tell him or tell anyone because they didn't want him to release another album. Because if he knew he was selling in another country, he'd be like, "What the fuck? I'm gonna do another album." They don't want that fucking guy to do another album. You're a demolition man. Just keep doing your demolitions. They kept it from him because they didn't want him to know at all what his music was taken off like a wildfire. and they were making a lot of money. But they could have made way more money if they let him release. You know, he would have kept writing albums if he was doing such a success, but he never knew.
They do some shady shit.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to even think about. I'm glad he took the opportunity to do it live, but to even think that people will stop you in your journey just because you have such an impact is honestly not far-fetched to me anymore.
But now that we have the internet, there's a way it can get out there, but there's so many like things like I told you about my video getting totally deplatformed on YouTube, and Facebook like blocked it and shit after that. So I had to change the name of the show because we called that one Live at the Kuroneko Cafe and this one In Bed with Tim Janakis. But just having In Bed in the title, they would like always flag it for all kinds of stuff. I'm like, oh man. Okay.
Hell yeah, they gonna flag
I gotta
that.
change the name. This is called the night show, and that's called like the PG
just
show.
Do that shit, and I'll honestly everybody can be like, In bed. What is
it was supposed to be a comical thing, you know.
But they don't give a damn. Everything's so like contextual. I feel like America, for being as racist as it is with their media, like we're still so behind. Like, oh my god, oh no, WAP got released. Oh no, but it's like this is what our American industry is pushing out into the world.
Yeah. And
it's like taking all these other artists and making them the same way. So why are we so still like on edge about sexual connotation and context? Like, let's grow up and realize that we're all grown-ups. And, you know, we can differentiate and we could choose what we show our kids and we cannot. Like, we can still possibly choose to show them the WAP video or not. Like, it's all based on parenting. Why are we still being so censored? That's another thing I don't understand is, like, we got all these artists that are international. Let's look at it. Let's be real. Who may be seen as racy in certain countries. Like, we got to think about Nicki. We got to think about Beyonce. Like, I'm not saying, like, they're not race. They're just, you know, doing what they love to do and that's how they express themselves. Not a big deal. But it's seen as so racy and so, and I'm hearing the conservatives talk about it on the right, even some liberals talking about like, oh, that's too much. But it's like, yo, everybody's eating this up like candy. Why are we still censoring each other? Why are we still trying to say this isn't good for the kids? And another thing that pisses me off is like these protesters that come and try to shut down drag queens from reading to kids. Like, this is a realistic part of life. Drag queens exist. We all exist. Let's stop trying to shield people and kids from reality. It's some bullshit. We all know it. You don't want your kid to be walking down the street like, what's that or who's that? No. It's there. It's always going to be there. It's never changed. Ever since ancient times, it's been around. Let's stop bullshitting. Quit trying to act like it ain't ever been seen. I don't want my kid to be around. I don't want my kid to see. They're going to see it when they get older. And hey, your son or your daughter may want to be into themselves and may want to express their gender differently. There's no big deal about it. And so that's another thing I'm starting to realize. It's like, wow, we're really like, we're so unprogressive and we're showing this whole different view that the world's like, oh, America's so free, but then when you're actually in this, you're like, there's still a lot of hate, and that's something I'm kind of realizing, like all this attempt to censor things and be all like high horse about it. It's like, just relax.
We have a word for that now called virtue signaling.
For real?
Yeah, virtue signaling. It's like, oh, I'm so good. I don't like that. That's bad.
I feel like being virtuous is just letting people live and be and understand that we all need to look at reality the way it is and understand that we're all one and that we're all people and we express ourselves differently, and that's fine. It would be boring to live in a world where we weren't a little different. It would be boring to live in a world without Prince. Like,
oh man,
my God, like, think about it. Like, this person was so gender fluid, they didn't give a fuck. They're like, I'm gonna wear makeup.
Do you know he gave so many of his songs because they said he was flooding he was writing too many songs and producing too many songs. They're like, you can't do it. So he started giving the Bangles. He gave so many famous singers songs, but they didn't put from Prince on the album because he said no, just because the industry's trying to keep me from writing so many songs, so I'm writing too much shit. And then that's why he changed his name like twice because they tried to sue him for flooding the market.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, no, our contract says you can only do 10 songs every 10 months. You can't do 55 songs 10 months. You know.
Well, what are you gonna do when you're a musician? All you do is want to create, especially when you got the funds.
Yeah, he's got the funds and the bands and he's got when his first album, the guys took it to the studio, and it's a big record label, and he goes, sit down, you gotta listen to this. He goes, no, I can just play it right now. I'm standing there because I know you guys sit down, listen to this shit. Finally, okay, I'm gonna fucking sit down. What is this? That band, whatever that band is, it's gonna be on my next big act. Okay, I want that band. What's the bass player's name? What's the drummer? He's like, no, it's one guy. That's Prince. He did the bass, he did the drums, he did everything on his first album. That's one guy. That's the fucking best band I ever heard in the world. I I want that band. I don't care about this Prince guy. I want that band. You know. Like, no, he's the guy. He's did it all, man. What the fuck? You have to have him. And he has to be singing his songs. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because he's Devo. Like, you can't fuck with Prince. You cannot say... If somebody was to tell Prince, no, you can't play your own... What? Bye. He will literally just walk out the building. I already know his tune.
Yeah, that's
like,
why
I can just feel it.
So he said, okay, I'm leaving the record now. No, we own you for 2 years on the record label. It's like, well, I'm just release it under a different name. What are you going to name it? I'm the artist formerly known as Prince. And they're like, they assume, you're still using Prince. Okay, I'm just a symbol now. Like, I don't got a name.
That's how real it was. He did not give a fuck. He's like, okay, you want to do me dirty? Well, boom. And he just, I don't know. That's what I admire about him, because he did not give a fuck, and just seeing how he just had this mindset of like, I'm gonna be me. Who are you? Why are you trying to fit me?
But he had so much coming out of him. They don't want to admit that most of the pop stars are written by 3 or 4 guys that work in the Brill Building, or they used to work in the Brill Buildings in this little part of, where was the Brill Building? Somewhere in New York. And they were writing for all the major artists.
Getting some deep shit right. I love that.
Yeah, and they wanted those people to, and they can't write 50,000 songs a week, you know, like Prince could, you know. So they're like, no, this is rocking the boat of these guys who write all the songs. Only Elton John had his own songwriter, Bernie Taupin, writing all the songs. But everyone else had the same guys. You know, the Whitney Houston's, all the people that are real big name, they didn't write their stuff. It was all written. Michael Jackson wrote a lot of his stuff, but Quincy Jones wrote a lot of it too, and a lot of other people wrote it. But they always put Michael Jackson. Yeah, I did it all. Mm-hmm. But he was very talented. I mean, he wasn't like Prince, where he can write all the shit.
I think what he liked to do, when I look at clips of Michael working, he liked being around other people and getting these ideas and working like a madman and staying up with Quincy and the team. Like, you would see him like, this ain't enough. Walk out like, let's do this again. Like, he was so obsessive. He was like, he wanted to get it right for the people, and that's another thing I'm realizing even with my own artistry. Sometimes, like, I've been in the studio and people have gotten tired of me. I'm like, it's not right. And I say it right here and say it the way I want to say it. And I've been in a studio, like, recently where I felt like I was too rushed, or I didn't feel comfortable.
You want to hear a song that I just got out of the studio doing that is a comedy Christmas song?
I heard, was it the one you posted on Instagram?
Yeah, you've heard it?
Yeah.
I'll play it again. You have your phone? Because all my phones are running.
I didn't bring it. Oh,
okay.
Can we use your phone?
Can we use your phone for one song? Just go on my Instagram page and then click on the link.
Just type in Tim Dennis.
So I had to do 3 different takes of it because I had to take out bad words to get it finally on 91X. But the last one I took out is nigga, because I was quoting my favorite Christmas song, which is Christmas time in the LBC. Have you heard it?
Yeah.
So in that he says nigga in the song.
I'm like, oh, you gonna get me heated over here? You get me saying all that? I'm being real, like, ooh, I'm a black woman. I'm like,
I didn't know, because I was quoting the song in my song, right? I was trying to act like I was one of the guys in Christmas time in the LBC in the background singing one of their lines, and so I had to take that out for the final. I'm like,
well, yeah, they go flip, and especially
my black friends all got on me, man. They all got on me. I'm like, I'm sorry.
I kind of want to get on you too,
I was just
but like, we had an interview. I'm not gonna do it right now. But like,
oh,
yeah, I can see what it is.
See that? They said they just kicked me off. They kicked me off. I said a bad word. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. And this is the original version that didn't get played on the radio. We're gonna play it. I'm trying to quote a song that I really liked for Christmas. I'm sorry if I say the N-word. Yeah, but it's in the song.
I'm kind of like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't even know. Well, here.
Okay. It's on my Instagram page.
Is it gonna have it in there? Because I don't want it to play.
Yeah, this is the one. I'll go radio edit or something.
It's a radio edit, right?
No, this is the real one.
Oh, I know. I can't condone playing that. I don't want to play that.
Oh man.
Yeah, sorry, no.
We'll go to that part. I'll stop right before that part.
Well, yeah, but don't play that part because I don't want to hear that.
Sorry. Do the beginning.
Just like that for me.
So if you go to my Instagram page and you click on this, you can play my new Christmas song that just got. So this was 1 hour in the studio. I did every part in 1 hour.
So you on the instrument?
There's only me and the piano, and I did all these backup harmonies and shit. What the heck? Rotate device.
What time does it come on? Just because I'm like, I don't want to go down.
No, I'm going to stop it before that. I'm going to push stop. I know
what
what
you
it
did
comes
right
up.
there. Like what you did with the keys.
Another Christmas alone.
You sound good.
Cause I don't like being cold. That's from a Chinese Kung Fu movie. I take all these parts from different things. There's nothing to this holy day. Just advertisers selling crap we so will throw away. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
I like that.
Ding dong, ding dong. Christmas really sucks.
Should have put it?
No, I don't know. I think it's coming. Santa licks my
Lick my butt. Why was it?
Okay, so this is the version that didn't get on the radio.
I can see why. Shoot. Well, I actually have to get going.
Okay, so we're ending the show. This has been a lovely show. I'm gonna put all the links to all of her songs so you can listen. Can you do something musically before you go? What can I do?
Let's see.
Do a rap, or I'll play like a beat on the thing, and you can bust out a rap or something.
I can do something. Let's see if I remember.
You know some chords on the guitar?
I only know like 2.
Oh, okay,
But I can't play.
Oh, yeah, I'll play.
Go
some.
ahead.
Let me see if it's in tune.
I haven't sang. Maybe I could sing or freestyle something.
Okay. You say you want diamonds and ring of gold. You say you want your story to remain untold.
All I really want is you, baby. All I really want is you, baby.
All I want is you.
All the diamonds you got, you know I'ma make it right. You know I'ma make it right, baby. Baby, you know it. I'm the one for you. Ain't no need to push back. Ain't no need to hold back. Come right through for me. You know what I need from you, baby, darling. Ain't no need to lie. I just want you close and baby, can you come over night? Come on over night, give me one. I know what you feel for me, baby, 'cause I feel for you, baby, can you come through? Baby. Show you how I feel for you, baby, 'cause I want that action, you know what I want. Give me that action. Bring it with attraction, super attraction, you know what I want. Yeah, you know, doubt it, ain't no need to reroute it. Baby, can you come.
I like it.
I just made that up. I didn't know.
I like it. So you know what? I heard a little bit of, and I know whenever time someone says, "Oh, you sound like this person," I'm like, "No, I'm better than that guy." But anyway, a little bit of Tracy Chapman. Did you ever listen to Tracy Chapman?
What is she? Well, she has this one song that I really like. I know.
Yeah, everyone knows the big hit, which was Fast Car. Take your fast car and keep on.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's the only song I know, to be honest.
Had a feeling that I belong. She had so many songs that would never play on the radio because they were so political.
I gotta hear them now because I
There's
was a little
really
pitchy
good
because I
ones.
had to pick it up. But
Yeah, I know. When you first start singing and you haven't drank any water.
hell yeah,
You're like,
it sounded for the most part it was all right. But
Yeah,
I heard a
right.
little bit too because it was the rhythm you were playing in.
Yeah, that's very much like our Fast Car, like very little soft guitar. I love Tracy Chapman. Her songs. There's one song called Material World. There's so many of her songs that were just.
I'm gonna have to go check her ass out tonight.
Yeah, Tracy Chapman. She has some songs that are just amazing. I'll send you links. But anyways, that's all for today's show. Thank you guys. I'm gonna stop this one first. Stop this
Well, great
one.
for the beer. Thank you for inviting me.
Say second end video. And how do we stop this one? this button, I think. Oh yeah. Okay. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Okay. And I'm gonna stop this one. Yeah, that was perfect timing. Because we didn't get to the hour, which is sometimes my